pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name mouth!
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. It really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
You know the story, right? Will Smith and Jada's marriage has been a spectacle for years. A toxic one at that. And rumor has it they only stayed together because the higher-ups wanted it that way. Yep, there's been some serious power plays behind the scenes, and it looks like Will's success wasn't all due to hard work. These so-called authorities paved his path to fame, making sure he got all the breaks that talent alone just couldn't buy. But here's the thing, Jim Carrey was right there too, but he chose to make his way up the Hollywood ladder on raw talent alone. No shortcuts, no secret deals, no bending over backward to stay in anyone's good graces. Now Eddie Murphy's just come forward with a juicy reveal. Apparently, Will has been scared of Jim for years. Why? Because Jim never lets himself get sucked into the fame for favors game. Jim's been the real deal from day one, and he saw right through Will's hustle. He burned that bridge before Will even had the chance to get close. And now, Will's always been low-key nervous around Jim. Eddie Murphy didn't just break into Hollywood, he shattered barriers, paving the way for black talent at a time when black Hollywood practically didn't exist. Yet, even as the biggest name to come off of Saturday Night Live, Murphy admits he was often denied the same opportunities his white counterparts received. And when SNL's David Spade took a cheap shot at him in the 1995 Hollywood Minute sketch, calling him a falling star, Eddie wasn't having it.
Look, children, it's a falling star. Make a wish. Yes, that's right. You make a Hollywood Minute omelet, you break some eggs.
That jab stung. And Murphy didn't hold back, calling out the industry for its bias, saying it felt like an in-house betrayal, especially after all he had contributed to keep SNL relevant. For Eddie, it wasn't just about a one-liner from Spade. It was about how a system built for others to succeed left him out, expecting him to laugh along. And Murphy, with his unstoppable resilience, used the moment to chew out an industry that he believed had unfairly kept him from getting his due. And while Eddie was laying out the truth about racial disparities, he didn't flinch when he allegedly hinted at something even juicier: Will Smith being an industry plant. Yep, Eddie didn't hold back, calling out how some folks even within the black community would trample over genuine talent just to keep the elite happy. Before anyone jumps to blame Eddie for turning on his own, let's be real. Eddie has always been about merit and hard work, and his relationship with Jim Carrey proves it. Now, speaking of Jim, word has it that Eddie's close buddy doesn't exactly have warm, fuzzy feelings for Will Smith. And honestly, can you blame him? Rumor has it that Will's big break was more about dating Jada than hard-earned talent. And come on, who doesn't remember Jada's public adoration for Tupac? She might have been with Will, but she was in love with Tupac, publicly no less. So while Will might have secured his spot at the table, people like Eddie and Jim earned their seats the old-fashioned way.
Girl, we got a surprise for you.
What?
Play!
Piccolo.
L to the J.
And before you can say they were just really close friends, listen, Jada didn't get over Tupac even after she was married and had 2 grown kids. Wait, let me spell it out for you. So, know that Jim Carrey didn't really want to be part of the Hollywood industry. And with a record-breaking talent like that, and making a gazillion hits, you'd think Jim's perspective on Hollywood might have changed. Well, you are in for a surprise. Jim was never one to play by the rules, and Hollywood just wasn't ready for that free spirit of his. In his own words, he was done with the committee in the way, always trying to tell him what to say, how to act, who to be. Hollywood's all about that control, but Jim? No, he's not the type to let anyone put him in a box. He straight up said, "I just didn't want to be in the business anymore." And can you blame him? When you're out here trying to create and they're constantly in your ear about 4-quadrant appeal, whatever that means, you gotta bounce. Jim wanted freedom, and he found it in his art, painting, where it's just him, his brush, and nobody telling him how to make it more marketable. In a previous interview, he said, "I just didn't want to be in the business anymore. I didn't like what was happening, the corporations taking over and all that. And maybe it's because I felt pulled toward a different type of creative outlet, and I really like the control of painting, of not having a committee in the way, telling me what the idea must be to appeal to a 4-quadrant whatever." And remember how Eddie called Hollywood out for their biasness? Well, Jim Carrey did the same, but you'd think, Jim's white. What did he have to worry about? Since Jim wasn't tameable like Will, this whole industry tried to ignore him.
I feel like there's so many things, because I've been so busy for so long, important things that I've ignored.
Anyway, you all remember that Oscar 22, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth catastrophe, right? Let me run this by you. So in short, Chris Rock made a G.I. Jane joke aimed at Jada, and Will completely lost it and smacked Rock in the face. But right after Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage, Hollywood still gave him a standing ovation minutes later when he won Best Actor for King Richard, and Carrey was not here for it.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse.
Jim Carrey didn't hold back one bit. He said straight up that Will Smith should have been escorted out after that infamous slap. And while Chris Rock chose to let it slide without pressing charges, Carrey thinks it was more about Rock avoiding unnecessary hassle than anything else. Carrey's blunt reaction shows he's completely fed up with Hollywood's double standards, and he's not about to keep quiet about it. In his eyes, letting Smith off the hook so easily just proves how the industry loves to bend the rules for some while holding others to a different standard altogether. I'd have announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. That insult's going to last a very long time. If you want to yell from the audience and show disapproval or say something on Twitter, that's fine, but you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
Cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. You know, a lot of people worked really hard to get to that place and to have their moment in the sun.
When Hollywood's top dogs tried to flip the script and blame Chris Rock, claiming his joke had crossed the line, Jim Carrey wasn't having it. As a comedian himself, Jim knew exactly how far they were stretching that excuse. He saw right through their act and wasn't about to let them dump the blame on Chris just for doing his job, telling jokes. Jim made it clear that he wasn't about to let Hollywood throw Rock under the bus while ignoring the real issue right in front of them.
Escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things. But that was not a good moment.
Now here's the thing. Hollywood's elites are throwing every card in the deck at Jim Carrey, dusting off Ace Ventura like it's a recent scandal. Yes, that iconic 94 comedy we all remember? Suddenly it's got Hollywood's woke committee feeling all kinds of ways. Why? Because Jim won't toe the line, and they're itching to bring him down a peg. This isn't just any Hollywood beef. No. They're pulling out scenes, jokes, and even Jim's political art, like it's all part of some twisted PR hit job. Remember that infamous scene? The one where Ace, in his over-the-top ridiculousness, freaks out over a little identity mix-up? Yep. That's the one that had everyone howling in the theaters back then. Well, the Hollywood elites are clutching their pearls, acting like Jim just tweeted it yesterday. Let's keep it real here. Back then, people laughed. They weren't analyzing every punchline with a magnifying glass. But now the industry bigwigs are offended by something older than a lot of today's fans. And Jim? He's not about to apologize or start some I'm sorry tour. This is Jim Carrey, folks, the guy that left red carpets for paintbrushes and political art because he wasn't here for the Hollywood script. He's been calling up the system for years, doing his own thing, and questioning Tinseltown's real agenda. When they nudged him to backtrack on Ace Ventura, Jim basically shrugged and said it was comedy, and he's still standing by it. That was an honest, completely homophobic reaction from that character. It was basically making fun of homophobia. It's ridiculous. I've got a plunger on my face because I kissed a dude. And Jim's not afraid to call a spade a spade. Will is terribly afraid of Jim Carrey. The whisper has it that Jim has been really against the toxic marriage situation going on with Will and Jada. After the Oscars fiasco, you'd think Jada would try smoothing things over for her husband, especially since she's the one who practically pushed him into that career-ending slap. But nope, once the dust settled, she's right back at it, throwing even more shade at Will by bringing up her so-called lost love, Tupac. Seriously, just when things couldn't get messier, Jada's on Instagram, reminiscing about her time with Tupac, even sharing a video where they're lip-syncing to none other than Will's own song, Parents Just Don't Understand. Talk about a slap in the face, right?
Here's the situation. My parents went away on a week's vacation. They left the keys to the brand new Porsche. Would they mind? Well, of course not.
Her caption doesn't exactly hold back either. She hints that she never pictured herself with a Fresh Prince and paints Tupac as her true connection. Almost like she's saying she ended up with Will by accident. Honestly, it's like she's got a new way to embarrass Will every time you blink. Is she still holding a torch for Tupac? Or is this her twisted way of keeping Will in check? Because really, who can even tell at this point? And about that slap, you ask? This is what she said in response. Now, about Oscar night. My deepest hope is that these two intelligent, capable men have the opportunity to heal, talk this out, and reconcile. The state of the world today, we need them both, and we all actually need one another more than ever. You can clearly hear that Jada has skillfully escaped mentioning her part. Though Will has later clarified that Jada had nothing to do with it, no one actually seems to buy it. The Huffington Post reported, the Oscar winner answered questions about the slap in a nearly 6-minute-long video he released on his YouTube channel on Friday. He clarified his wife Jada Pinkett Smith's role in the slap, or lack thereof, after a question appeared on screen saying, after Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No, Smith said emphatically, as he began to smile. It's like, you know, I made a choice on my own. From my own experiences, from my history with Chris, he said, Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. Jaden and Willow Smith are finally breaking their silence on their mother's relentless revelations, and it's clear that the toll of Will and Jada's troubled marriage has hit them hard. Insiders say the constant drama surrounding their parents is traumatizing, leaving them feeling humiliated as their family's private issues play out in public. According to sources close to the family, Jaden and Willow are in a fragile state, trying to cope with the emotional roller coaster their parents' behavior has created. It's no wonder with each shocking statement Jada releases, the Smith siblings are left to pick up the pieces of a family life that once seemed picture perfect. They said, Willow and Jaden are both extremely fragile right now and clearly traumatized by their parents' behavior to the point where they're acting out. It seems to be having an adverse effect on their kids, too. Willow is humiliated by the public way her parents have destroyed their marriage and each other. She's crying out for attention, causing fear for her well-being. To add to that, Jaden also admitted that the image of his parents has overshadowed his career. He alluded that since they have a toxic marriage and no one holds a good opinion of them.
Once I went out into the world and I saw what people, how people feel about my parents, I didn't understand, I'm still understanding more and more every day that
Jada Pinkett Smith has always made her intentions clear. She's here for fame, not man. Back on Red Table Talk, Jada proudly claims she laid down the law with Will before they even tied the knot. She even went as far as to say she wasn't mature enough for a divorce, making it sound like leaving Will was never an option, unless, of course, it was on her terms. I told Will from the gate, I said, let me tell you something. If you marry me, know this. We're going to be together. We're going to be under the same roof, Jada said. For me, personally, I'm not mature enough to have a divorce. I'm just not. I don't think I would ever be mature enough. I don't. We've been doing some really heavy-duty work together, Jada said. We just got deep love for each other, and we're going to figure out what that looks like for us.
If you were
We're
to describe
in the
your
most
relationship.
beautiful place.
Yeah.
I will never leave Will's side.
Never.
Ever.
Never.
And that's all, you know what I mean? I'll never leave his side.
It's almost laughable. Jada enjoyed every perk of Will's hard-earned success, basking in the spotlight he created. Yet when things got tough, she openly aired his most vulnerable moments. And now, after 7 years of dragging him through the mud and working on themselves, her words, she's pushing this idea of deep love. But if Jada had a shred of loyalty, maybe she'd have stood by Will instead of humiliating him on the world stage. Just recently, she smugly declared in an interview that she's been through a lot with Will and won't leave his side. Yet how many times has she been the very reason he's left looking like a fool? According to Jim, Will and Jada are the perfect example to get inspiration to not fall into the Hollywood trap. He even hinted that Will and Jada fell for the fame and power and forgot that everything comes at a price, and in their case, it's their mental health and reputation. We're a bunch of ideas cobbled together to look like a form. There's a body and there's a mind, but the body is part of the field of consciousness, just dancing for itself. And it's no different than a plant or a chair or your phone. It's all one thing. Because we are sentient, there's a consciousness, and we have to deal with this thing we create, like a fortress of ideas around it. So we say, this is my name, and this is my heritage, and this is my nationality, and here's my hockey team, and these are all the things that I am. That's the mistake. Jim's really strong sense of self is really the one thing that separates Jim's legacy from Will's. Fans believe that elites tried to can Jim by making it seem like he was crazy for speaking out. I think everyone needs to apologize to Carrey. Hollywood is now exposed. Was Jim wrong? I applaud the man for trying to expose it all, even if it meant he took on the crazy role. I've always seen Carrey for who he is. What he said has been truths. If that wasn't enough, Jim went ahead and literally exposed the tactics the elites use to keep people oblivious to the truth around them. These are the same manipulative strategies that have kept the masses in the dark about what Will Smith has been doing all along. From the way Hollywood crafts narratives to distract us from real issues, it's all part of a game designed to maintain control.
For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you.
Well, to be honest, when you expose Hollywood like that, it's no surprise they're trying to cancel you. But here's the thing. They might try all they want, but Jim's fans, they ain't going anywhere. No matter how hard the industry pushes, Jim's got an army of supporters backing him up. They see through the facade, and they know he's speaking the truth. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this.